Have you ever had a conversation with someone that you know and respect, but don't really know that well, and then find out you've got so many things in common? That's how it went with my guest today, Hava Gurevich, who is an amazing artist and just so much more. And you know what we did today? We combined our podcasts because she's also a podcast host and decided to see where's that going to go. I mean, what could go wrong? In all honesty, we got plenty of outtakes, but amazing conversation. You don't want to miss this one. Tune in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Art of a Meaningful Life podcast. I am Carmen Davailus. I'm your hostess. And today I have Hava Gurevich, who is an amazing artist. And we have something special planned for today, don't we, Hava?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, something neither of us have done because she is a host of her own podcast. And I just went blank on the name of it, Hava. But
I love your stories.
I love your story. I was going to say, well, thank you. But that is the title of your podcast.
Yes. Wait, what's the title of yours again?
The Art of a Meaningful Life.
The Art of a Meaningful Life.
Yeah. And welcome. See, we've already started out.
I know.
Because today, if you haven't noticed, for those of you watching, it is Halloween. Because you don't normally have quite that hairstyle, do you, Hava?
This is my alter ego.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. And that's not even the biggest surprise today.
Yeah.
So, well, let's get started. You have a lot of bloopers, huh?
We will definitely have lots of bloopers, but that's great.
I'm good with that. So Hava, listen, I am so curious to hear your story because I have been admiring your work.
Thank you.
On Instagram. No kidding. And it's a treat to get to meet you.
Thank you.
It is.
So I've been painting for the past 26 years. Maybe a little longer. I started out when I started my art, sort of like pursuing art. I was an undergrad. I started in pre-med. Biology and psychology were probably like the two subjects I was willing to study in college, and my parents sort of really wanted, they're like, you're going to college and you're going to study something real so you can get a real job.
Mm-hmm. So, I know that story.
Yeah. But I took a drawing class when I was in college, and it was the first time that, I've always been sort of artistic and creative, and I wanted to be a fashion designer when I was young. And my mom said, like, absolutely not. So, yeah, right.
Well, I've got a comment to make about that. When you finish, I'll tell you. Don't.
I know. You know, that's why I love Halloween so much, because it's the one time a year I get to, like, just really let my inner fashion designer out. But I took a drawing class, and it was the first time in my life that I learned, like, I learned that you can learn to make art. Like, I learned that you can get better. Right. That you can, learn technique and improve. And for the first time, I sort of like started to understand that art isn't just a pretty picture on a wall, that art is a form of expression and about the whole history of art. Mm-hmm. And it opened up a whole new world for me. And I switched to the art school. And for the first three years of college, I really was just trying to find my voice. I was just trying to find my medium. One of my professors used to tell me that I have a lot to say, but I haven't really figured out how to say it. Like, my skills were lacking. There was a lot to say, but my skills were lacking. And I tried different things. I also ended up dropping out of college and moving to Milan, trying to become a fashion designer.
Because you never gave up that dream, right? No. Good for you.
And I did end up for a short time designing costume jewelry for a small like a little shop in outside of Milan. That experience led me to realize just how little I know, like just how not seriously I took for granted the education that I had and kind of like dropped, and that I can actually learn and grow and do something with this art. And so I came back and went back to finish college, and I discovered photography in my very last semester, or in my very last couple of semesters of college.
Mm-hmm.
And that became sort of my passion for about 10 years after that. It was the first time when I started doing photography, it was the first time when my vision and my skills matched up. That was a lot of fun. And that was, what was really fun about it is that I got to sort of learn a lot about fashion, about photography, about portraiture. And practice. What story do I want to tell?
Right.
And that wasn't the story that I personally wanted to tell. Sometimes you learn the most from experiences that when you realize, oh, that's not for me.
Right.
That's not who I am. And
that's part of finding your point of view, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes, you don't want a situation where you look back and like, oh, like I still look back and think like, where would I have been if I was allowed to pursue my passion for fashion design and fabric design and all of that when I was young, I don't know. It's a futile question because I don't know. Maybe nowhere,
But I mean, your art, which is behind you and gorgeous, by the way, for those of you watching, it looks like it could be a fabulous fabric.
It's yes. And that's, if I I joke about that. If I had a dime, even a penny, for every time somebody tells me that my art belongs on fabric,
so
I wouldn't have to work anymore. One of the things that I love about being an artist, and my passions, I still love biology, I still love psychology, like living sciences, nature, animals, all of that. And what's really wonderful about being an artist is that I get to make art about all the things that I love and all the things that I'm passionate about. And I can like study it. I can go as deep as I want to go and then make art about it. But I don't have to I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist. I don't have to like follow somebody else's guidelines. I have like creative freedom to take it in any direction I want. Like I can pick and choose from all the things that I love, including fashion design, because any field, really, if you become part of the field, you have to follow their rules and you have to play by some rules.
Yeah.
And there's competition.
Big time, you do.
Yes. And there's competition everywhere. There's always people who are going to be so much better than you, been doing it longer, are better at self-promotion, or had the right breaks at the right times in their life, all of those things. So I don't regret. I don't regret. And I love that I can, if I want to lean into my fashion design, if I have that itch to scratch, I work on a Halloween costume, or I print my stuff on scarves and on tote bags and mugs and things like that. So I have those outlets, but I also can do other things because I'm just the artist. I'm just the interpreter of reality.
It doesn't have to be your profession, and you can still have that creative outlet, right? We have so many things in common that I didn't even know. I should have taken notes here because that's how my memory is. So about 3 years into being a nurse, now I had started out as a music major, I'll say that. So I was creative in my own way and went to nursing school because I needed to support myself and make a living. And I liked it. But first chance I had, I took a program for clothing design, a degree in clothing design. For this degree, I needed to take drawing and color theory, which I realized I'm colorblind with the blues and the greens. I have trouble with tones big time.
Oh,
And but drawing. So here I'm in this class with all the formerly cool kids, and I'm a little older. We're just picking up their pencils and drawing, and I'm like at stick people level. I don't know anything about drawing. Studied and worked more for that class than I ever did in my nursing classes, and that says a lot. But every week we put our finished drawing up on the board, and we were critiqued, and it was like I'm sweating because I'm like, oh my gosh. But that's when I saw art is so subjective. And so
absolutely.
when you were talking even about, did I promote myself enough, do I do this, and I mean it is so subjective. And those of you, I mean, I'm sure you have done art shows and competitions, and
A little bit.
yeah, you just never know because there's a judge. And
Yeah, I've been actually in the position of being on the other end of it. Like when I was still in grad school, I got invited by local um galleries, like let's call them galleries,
huh?
to jury a couple of times. And that was a very interesting process. Um, just really just seeing how what I think about and what other people think, it was like diametrically opposed. Especially with my when I worked in the photo gallery in Chicago, I had the gallery owner, her name is Carol Ehlers. She was amazing. She knew so much about photography, and she's been doing it for a while. And I would just listen to her and watch her, and then in the beginning, we would work through the portfolios together,
Uh-huh.
and she would make comments that really like hit home. She said, "This is wonderful. This is like really wonderful work. It's just there isn't anything like specific like that. This isn't really relevant for what like for contemporary what's showing in contemporary galleries."
Hmm.
And from a gallery perspective, it's not really about like, oh, this is great work. It's also about, who is my audience? Who do I have clientele that might buy it?
That's right.
And that's something that most artists don't take into consideration when
No.
they contact galleries. They just see rejection and they feel rejection. And also, like, she was usually quite right. Like, she's like, she knew she had clients who would buy it.
Hmm.
um and that, after that, like, I did professional portfolio reviews for photo festivals like the Houston Photo Festival, and a couple of times in Manhattan. That one of the things that I decided is that I don't want to put myself through that,
Oh.
because I know how sensitive I am and how personally I take rejection. And so, the couple of times that I participated in an art fair, just this, sitting there with all my art,
Hmm.
and people walk by, and some just, like, my art is just too much for them, so they just like walk by.
Uh-huh.
And then some, like, will stop, and they don't know what to say, really, because they're like, wow, so much color.
Mm.
And
Uh-huh.
then they'll move on. I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
And then they'll walk to, whoever is next to me, who's doing like very traditional, very like
Hmm.
safe traditional landscapes of the region. And nothing against that. Like,
Hmm.
kudos to her, because she was selling her little paintings like hotcake. Everybody wanted them because, that's like, oh, that reminds me of the landscape outside my
Right.
house, kind
Hmm.
of thing.
Right.
And but it would affect me, like, to
Hmm.
have that kind of response.
I want to tap on that. The level of vulnerability that it takes
Yeah.
is huge. It's unpredictable because it's a lot about feeling, like what is our memories, our experiences, and it's so unique. And yet, from the artist's point of view, it's like, do you like my babies?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you love my baby?
Yeah.
And like, why is her baby prettier to you than my? And it is not that at all.
The thing is that there is a big, what do you call it? Like, there's a gap between that kind of intellectually, like just understanding that that's how it is, that art is very subjective,
Right.
and that it's going to resonate with a few people, and it's going to not resonate with a lot of people. And that's okay, because those are not your audience. You're not speaking
That's
to
right.
them.
As I get older, I find that this part of evolution for me. So the whole part of putting yourself out there, and
Yeah.
I mean, you probably heard this. The older, especially women, the older we get, we're not
The
so much
less
caring.
fucks we got to give.
Yeah, yeah. Like we are like, well, whatever. You like it, you like it. It's not like a part of me. You're not judging me. It's
Yeah.
not. We can. Yeah, we love our art and we create it and all, but we can disengage from the opinions of others, and it's important, but it's not gonna stab me in the heart, right? And I think art taught me that big lesson, bigger than anything else, and creating art, and the whole part about being creative is that vulnerable act and learning that that's part of human growth. And
But
uh,
that's the hardest thing too. Like, that's what I'm
yes,
saying. Like,
I never
I
said that
can,
was easy, Hava.
yeah, like I can talk about it. I can
Yeah.
see how that principle applies to
Hmm.
me as a consumer of
Yeah.
art. But when it's my creations, I can't, like, the ego is there. I can't let that go and see my art more objectively as like, this is just one person's form of expression.
Here's the big question, honestly. So if you're reluctant to put yourself out there in the ways that maybe, or do you even want to? Does it matter? And do you
I
think
do,
it impacts your business at all?
I mean, I do. I've been putting myself out in those situations, and when it goes well, um, I'm riding high. Like, there was a time 2, 3 years ago when my reels were going viral, and I was gaining followers left and right, and all
Yeah.
kinds of, like, ooh, wow, admiration kind of thing, and I was on top of the world. But then you know and now I'm at like, when it's not that way,
Hmm.
um you have to deal with, like, okay, this is just one small metric, and it has more to do with the algorithm than anything else. I have an exhibition right now in town, and it's downtown, and it's a big deal. It's a big
Hmm.
deal. And I was like so nervous opening night, during like, I was so nervous, like, what if nobody comes, and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, that happens. But then it went really well. And so far it's being received really well. And learn about myself
Hmm.
from different experiences. And when it is a negative experience, I give myself some time to, like, lick my
Hmm.
wounds and sort of, like, wallow
Yeah.
in self-pity for a little bit. And then I'm
Right.
like, okay, done that as a favorite expression of my parents. I'm only going to do this twice. First time and last time. That was it. So
Yeah.
something like that.
Say it's plan, do, and then review. And in that review, you
Yeah.
decide whether that's for you or not. And that's not only do I look at the numbers, do I make money, and it's my gut feeling, like, did I really enjoy that? Did
Mhm.
that, back to the meaningful life, right? Did that bring joy to my life? Was it meaningful to me? And I would just look at it and go, well, no, or yes.
There's a question that I love to ask my guests,
Uh-oh.
and that is, what are you most passionate about right now?
Right now. Oh, great question, Hava. I'll tell you,
Mhm.
because this is the time of year I'm planning next year. So December will actually be the start of 2026 for me. Found that I spent many many decades silencing myself, being small. Each year I find it is more important for me to have a voice.
I'm a really strong believer in following your passion. that's that's been part of my passion
Is it?
you
I
know,
was going to ask you what is your big passion?
art is part of it, but more as a tool, as a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
In that, for the past year, more than a year, but really this past year especially, been spending a lot of time thinking about how everything is connected and interconnected, and how I see reality, how I sort of like what I believe reality to be is what is reflected back to me.
Mm-hmm.
And um and so if I want to make a change in my life for the positive, I don't wait for the change to happen. I have to live as if the change already happened,
Yeah.
and then reality catches up because it's so subjective.
Yes.
And so I've been really passionate about trying to live that every day. Some days I'm successful, other days not so much. But
Mm-hmm.
I try to start each day with a little meditation.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of like, what is it that I want to manifest today, in a
Yeah.
sense of like, what's my best life, and how can I live through today?
Mm-hmm.
What actions can I take? Or not just actions, it's also what, like, thinking and feeling, like
Absolutely.
emotions.
I love
How
that.
can I put myself in an emotional state that will be a representative of the life that I want to live? And I end each day with a little bit of a mental, like, checklist of all the things that I accomplished. Because
Wow.
sometimes, especially, like, just feels overwhelming. And a lot of times, like, I end my days with like doom scrolling, and you can't stop. And it's not even doom scrolling. It's just like,
React the
you
news?
know,
You mean like the
no,
the
no, no,
current
no. I try
events?
to I try not to do that too much, because
Yeah.
that's a downward spiral.
Me
But
too.
I watch, like, I follow a lot of like comedians and like content creators who make really funny content.
Yeah.
And like, each one is like 2 or 3 minutes. And so
Mhm.
you don't realize how quickly time
Yeah.
passes.
Yeah.
Um and so then I'm like, shit, it's after midnight. I should go to bed. And like, my first thought is like, man, I can't believe I wasted all this time.
Mhm.
And then I just try to stop myself and be like, no, you know, I did this, and
Mhm.
I finished that, and I got all of this done. Like, it's like, wow, I've had a really productive day. And so I just try to, like, end the day on a note of like, I've achieved some of the, not goals, but sort of like, I'm living the life that I want to live. And
Mhm.
um, the other thing is, quite recently, a full-time artist. Like, I left my day job last year, and so it's been more than a year now, and it's taking a very long time to, like, recalibrate that work-life balance,
Yeah.
because for so long, my art was my escape.
Mhm.
It was my passion. It
Mhm.
was the thing that I would try to find time to do. And, that wasn't always successful. And sure, there were stresses about it, but
Mhm.
still, like, it didn't have, I intentionally, like, wasn't trying to sell art. I wasn't looking at it as my vocation. So it was something like, if I got to do it, I'm happy. If I didn't get to do it, I'll get to do it later.
Yeah.
And then, suddenly I'm a business owner. And so I'm still working.
Yeah.
But now, like, I have to, like, spend time on Instagram,
Mhm.
like, looking at content, engaging with other creators, creating content, answering questions,
It's a job.
putting together. It's a job. It's a job. And
Yeah.
sometimes, like, it's when you're your own, when you're a business owner, everything you do, every time you go out and sit in a coffee shop and look out the window and, like, Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, maybe I should try that. You're working. That's
Mhm.
work.
Yeah.
And and so sitting in, like, being in my studio and painting is not the only thing that counts as work.
Hmm.
Everything counts as
Right.
work. And
Right.
so when everything counts as work, it becomes like, well, when do I relax? I don't have an answer.
Uh, I want to say kudos for you for even recognizing that. And I've found myself in the very same place. And I thought, here I'm all about creativity. And my master's thesis was spirituality and health, which included creativity and a lot of the things you're talking about. How do you spend your day? How do you take breaks from things? And to fill your cup, to nurture your spirit, and things we often take for granted and don't do. It's like last on the list. And so, as an entrepreneur, we're kind of on this hamster wheel all the time because, as a solopreneur, especially, it is just you, right? And we're great bosses sometimes. Sometimes my boss overworks me a lot, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
way overwork and desire to be successful and to find a way. And we're actually paving ground that hasn't really been driven before in
Right.
the way that we are now, and with
Yeah.
the resources that we have and how to use those. And
Mhm.
so I recognize this in myself, and I had to really stop and go, here I am, supposedly this expert on taking care of myself and spirituality and creativity, and I'm not even taking time out to make sure I'm breathing deep 3 or 4 breaths a day.
One of the things that I really love to do is kind of like a mental exercise. Like sometimes it's a situation of you do something and then afterwards you're like, well, that was a waste of my time.
Mhm.
Other times something happens, like whether you feel like you had control over it or not, but it didn't go the way you wanted, and like those kinds of disappointments, and they happen throughout your life.
Right.
um but what's really really fun is to see where you are now, and as you look at your successes, as you look at your passions, as you look at the paths that you are choosing to
Right.
take, and then like connect the dots back to something that maybe happened like 30, 40 years ago, or maybe like just like yesterday, that you're like, wow, if I didn't go through that, positive or negative, I
Mhm.
wouldn't be where I am now,
Right.
so it's and I try to do that as much as I can, because it really helps when something goes south in the present.
Yeah.
And so like I'm like, oh shit, but then
Mhm.
right after that sort of consciously think about like, I wonder what thing in the future, what like positive win in the future or
Right.
direction in the future that
Yeah.
I'm going to take, and I'm going to look back and say like, oh, I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for
Yeah.
this shitty
You
situation
got
that I'm
that
in
right.
right now,
You
you
got
know
that right. Hmm.
yeah. So okay, so this is actually, it's one of the sort of thread themes through my podcasts, is these kinds of like pivotal moments or transformations that began possibly as as some kind of something negative, and but uh ultimately brought you to where you are now.
Hmm.
um is I've been trying to, I mean, I like to say that when I was younger, there was a lot of separation between the different parts of my life. So there was a part of my life where I'm the artist, another one where, I, whatever, career I had, and then as a partner to someone, and as a daughter to someone, and, as a friend to someone. I was all these different things, and they had some overlap, but they were like different people. And one of the things that I've been discovering through my own art and through my own sort of like spiritual journey is that everything is connected. It's all the same thing.
Hmm.
And I can say that about art. Like one of the themes in my art is this idea of like repeating patterns, fractal patterns, and that the same kind of patterns, and through my art, I show these patterns visually, but they're not always visual patterns. These patterns are patterns that occur on all kinds of planes. So you can talk about a pattern, a similar pattern of like evolution or regeneration or, you know, um, metamorphosis. Like these are patterns, and you can see those patterns in the life of a butterfly, for example. You can see those patterns in weather systems. You can see those patterns in communities. You can see those patterns in like a person's development, a person's life. Uh, you can see that pattern in our constellation. Like it's the
Everywhere.
pattern is a pattern, and and everything works in the same way. There's connections in everything. And so especially if I'm making art, and I'm I don't have I don't have an idea ahead of time of what it is that I'm going to paint.
Mm-hmm.
I just react to what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
and but at some point, whether it's just a simple flower or a more complex and psychedelic or abstract pattern, whatever it is, at some point, my brain kind of like clicks onto that pattern, and I'm seeing all these connections. And when I see those connections, I mean, that's just like this magical, transformative moments, and they're like
Mm-hmm.
micro moments, right? They don't last long in like, but just like you were saying, like they do for me. They're like time stops, and I'm in this space where everything comes together, and a lot of times, like I might have been having like some issue with family member, or like just some stress or anxiety over some business interaction, or world events, whatever it is. Suddenly I'm able to put that into some kind of perspective through the art that I'm making, and in having that kind of realization that um, everything that happens and kind of comes through me is interconnected. And I'm so grateful that I have that creative outlet to be able to process all that is happening, and to be able to then look at it and gain knowledge, or gain some kind of understanding
Mm-hmm.
through that. I'll share, sometimes it's in progress or it's finished, and people, not always, some will just say, oh, I love the colors, and that's fine too, because I love color.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, somebody will make a comment that like tells me that they really got that they really got what I was doing. That level of communication, it's like one soul communicating with another soul
Mm-hmm.
through, in my case, a visual language.
Mm-hmm.
For other people it might be through music or something else. But when that happens, when that kind of connection happens, for me, that feels like the ultimate success. On a less lofty plane,
Mm-hmm.
success is just being able to have the freedom, the time, the space, the resources to make art
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
makes me feel successful. But
Yeah.
that's
We do need
that's
to
that's the
eat.
cherry on top.
Yeah, well, we do need to eat and have a roof over our heads. But
Yeah.
so what I'm hearing is like we create art for ourselves, for what it gives us. We
Mhm.
create art for others who can feel something themselves. And then
Ooh,
for even bigger beyond that is we create art to connect
yes.
ourselves with others and then beyond that, with the world at large. And
that because like I have so like my partner, my boyfriend, um, he his biggest passion is music.
mm,
And the way when, we'll be listening to something together, he always has to have music on.
mhm,
And it brings out emotion in him. And the way he discusses listening to music is just on another level.
mhm,
Um, and then I have this other friend who is she loves looking at art. She loves going to see concerts. She needs to be surrounded with art. And so the three of us were having a conversation about creativity and specifically about how do you express your creativity?
uh-huh.
Because we're all creative. Creativity is part of human nature. And
Yes.
expressing that creativity is is like a human need. I mean, it's right up there next to like food, shelter. They were sort of saying like, oh, they haven't yet found their creative expression, like,
Mm,
you know. And I said, for one thing, when when you speak, like, that if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it make a sound or something like that? Like it's
right.
true. Like on a quantum level, a particle needs to be observed,
Hmm.
become a particle, right?
It's a
So if
connection.
yeah, so
Mhm,
if I am expressing something into the vacuum and no one hears it, no one sees it, no one it not, doesn't resonate with anyone.
mhm,
I mean, yes, it's I've there is something there, but the full connection, the full feeling of accomplishment or the full feeling of like success is that there is somebody that receives it and
mm,
it resonates with them, and that completes that expression.
right.
And like I love making art. I don't necessarily love looking at art. Like I
Mhm,
do. I love looking at art. I love looking at art that I like, but
uh-huh.
I don't go out of my way to go to museums and galleries just to look at art unless I'm
Mhm,
looking to be inspired for my own art. For some people, being a consumer of art is their way of expressing creativity.
oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
in
Well,
the same way that like a chef creates a meal, they need someone to eat it and appreciate it.
mhm, mhm.
You
Well,
know,
I think it's part of, like, for people who love to have art around, but it's not theirs, they're surrounding themselves with that which inspires them. Just
exactly.
like we might walk out in nature versus go
Yeah,
to a
yeah,
museum.
yeah. And
That's
yeah, so and I think that is like a big realization because it also means if you have a story to tell, there is somebody out there that needs to hear that story.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and it sometimes can take 40 years for that story to complete its cycle.
mhm, to be ready,
Um,
right?
and to really get a sense of how meaningful it was, you
Mhm,
know?
mhm,
And you need to know how it was received. That's what completes the cycle.
mhm.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah, maybe that's what I was feeling that day, right, on stage when my it was like a monumental moment, and I knew it.
yeah,
Like, I'm standing, and to be aware of it is
yeah.
something. Hey, Hava, I'm gonna make sure our listeners have all your information to go look at your art, find you on Instagram, whatever you want. So because I know people are just gonna eat it up. It's gorgeous. And I truly feel when I see your art, that's part of why I think we connected.
Mhm.
Right. And so I've got plenty of links. I know this got a little deep today, and I got to tell you, I really loved it.
I loved it too.
I love talking about that. That just,
Yeah, I'm really glad you reached out to do this.
thank you.
Um,
Oh, me too. Such a
yeah,
pleasure.
yeah,
Such a pleasure.
likewise.
I'm going to thank all of our guests for listening, and we will see you soon. And I would love to hear some comments.